All right, y'all. We're going early today. We got an exciting day down the pipeline. We're going to be ripping a drafters stream. We're going to be talking best ball. Going to be going live with Ian Harditz over on the Fantasy Life channel later today. Let's do this thing. All right, ladies and gentlemen. As always, I am Liam Murphy. For those who don't know, I am a three-time NFL best ball champion. Today, going to be doing a drafters stream. Shout out drafters. For those who don't know, drafters, also a sponsor of the channel, is a total season points contest. So unlike Underdog and DraftKings, which have playoff weeks, it's just total points weeks 1 through 17. That will determine the champion. If you are not up on drafters, I put my referral code in the YouTube description below. Also have my Discord link. That would be drafters.com/refer/chess Liam. Sign up for that and you'll get a $100 deposit match up to $100 is what I was told. We're at 6 out of 12. So once this fills up, we will be doing the draft. Drafters is a great contest to be drafting this time of year because we do not have the NFL schedule release, which comes out May 11th. So the schedule release or the week 17 games does not matter too much for a site like Drafters. So it's great to be getting, when I'm planning on maxing the Drafters and the DK $10 and the Underdog Best Ball Mania 4, and I know I'm going to be in Vegas for some of those times, it's great for me to get some of my Drafters action down now in May. I can ease off of the Best Ball Mania 4s until I get the schedule release again. Then I'll get some of those in there as well. But I'm going to be drafting a lot of drafters in there. In the meantime, the payout structure is pretty flat. It's $300K to first place. It's $150K to second. It's $100K to third. Something important to know is last year, the drafters contest got to, we need 5 more. It got to 80% filled. So at 80% overlaid. After this tweet. It got to 80% filled. So at 20% overlaid. If you don't know what that means, the prize pool is guaranteed. So if the contest overlays, it just means you're facing less entries for the same prize pool. So it's both easier to min cash and it's easier to win the contest because it got to 44,000 entrants out of 55,000. So 80% over, 80% fill rate, 20% overlay, very solid. I talked to the owner of Drafters today and he told me he feels like they'd be lucky to get to 80% this year. So the contest almost certainly is going to overlay. To give you an example, if there's 10% rake on a contest, meaning the site is taking 10% of the prize pool and keeping it for themselves, and the contest overlays by 20%, well, you're basically playing a rake-free best ball contest. In fact, it's even better than that. What's going on, Cal Be Cool? What's up, Ben? What's up, Fantasy Garage? We're on the road to 2K, guys. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button to help me out with that. I'll be doing daily streams the weekdays of May. Gonna take a break this weekend. We'll be back on Monday, the 8th. As soon as this drafters contest fills, we're going to launch. We need 3 more people. It is a $20 contest to enter, 300K to first, 150K to second, 100K to third. Um, Tyler said, "What happened to those thumbnails with you flexing those Rocky Mountain triceps?" Which thumbnail are you referencing, man? I For those who don't know, I've been cataloging my workouts for the month of May. Going to be working out once a day or doing something physical fitness related. Um, Pulling up the thread. The workout I did yesterday was brutal. Happy Cinco de Mayo to you as well, Cal. It was the 6-5-4-3-2-1 sprint, which is, I used to be a pretty fast person. I played wing in college at rugby. Was the fastest person at my college, no doubt. Not a big school, but still. So you're sprinting this up an incline, and that's important because it forces good form, meaning it's harder to get injured. And you pace out 10 yards, you place a stick or a rock. You pace out 10 more yards, you place a stick or rock. You do that all the way until you have 6 markers for 60 yards total. The first workout is 6 sprints, 10 yards. You're walking back to the start line before each sprint. And after you do those 6, you take a 5-minute break or until you fully caught your breath. The key is we're not training endurance for these exercises. We're training sprinting. We're trying to put our body under a very taxing situation. And then you do 5 sprints, 20 yards, 4 sprints, 30 yards. I'm not going to lie. After like the 4 for 30, I wanted to quit. These things are exhausting. I could feel my top speed no longer being there. If you're like out of shape, you haven't done workouts for a while, it's totally okay to not finish this exercise. Don't push yourself. And one of the only ways to get faster is to sprint. And like I'm 30 now. I think the dream of getting of being fast is probably over. One more, guys. One more to get this contest to start. It's time to flex. We can get the gun show on for you, Tyler. Let's pull up that thumbnail for Tyler here. He's talking about this one, the super flex me, brother. Those are biceps. Come on now. One more, guys, to get this drafters. Drafters is it's not as big as Underdog and DraftKings, so it's definitely a contest that takes a little bit longer to fill. But as a user, that's not too bad for you because, again, if the contest doesn't fill fully, that's good for you because of overlays. So once we get this one more person, we'll be off and running. Hope everyone's having a great day. The other news around the best ball space, I have some streams. Oh, the draft is here. Someone filled it. Thank you, whoever did that. We pulled the 101. Look at us. Think we're going to go Justin Jefferson just because I don't have any JJ shares. But I like Chase better. But that I don't want 100% Chase, none of Jefferson. I would be okay if someone told me they wanted to do that. I think that's fine. It's just a variance equation. But I won't personally be doing that. Someone asked about the guy auto drafting Anthony Richardson 4 overall. I mean, auto drafts happen. I don't know what you want. Like, that's not collusion or anything. Someone just probably put him in his queue so he doesn't forget and then got distracted. It happens. Influencer 101. You got it, roulette. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure to hit the follow button or whatever you do over there. It's kind of cool on drafters. It gives you the option to click this box that says let's draft. I've never ever seen a contest start though like that. I put some other tweets out. Be kind of cool to check out. Some things I've done in the past is I've drafted 4 quarterbacks on a site like Drafters. And I looked into some examples last year. Said, now these are not predictive stats. These are just examples, but can 4 quarterbacks work for total point scoring? Points weeks 1 through 17. So the trio of Geno, Goff, and Daniel Jones scored 398 points. If you added Carr, so now you have 4 quarterbacks, you only got 2 more points for 399 or 1 more point on the whole season for 17 games. You got 1 point. So definitely not worth 4 there. We'll be pulling JJ. If your trio was Goff, Tua, and Aaron Rodgers, you had 380 points. If you added Geno to that trio, you only got up to 397. So remember, it's over 17 weeks, so that's 17 more points, which is 1 point a week. Not worth it. If your trio was Russell Wilson, Derek Carr, and Matt Ryan, you had 341 points. If you added Ryan Tannehill to that trio, you got up to 343. So you got 2 points over the course of 17 games. If your trio was Matt Ryan, Tannehill, and Mac Jones, you got 288 points. If you added Kenny Pickett, you only got up to 291. So, I mean, I don't know. At least from these examples, 4 quarterbacks seems totally not viable. Now, I will say, I think if your quarterbacks are across different tiers, it could help. Like, in this example of Matt Ryan, Tannehill, and Mac Jones and Pickett, if Pickett was instead like Daniel Jones or like Justin Fields or someone like that, like someone who hits a rushing ceiling, well, then it might actually bring the quad up to like 380. But it didn't do it because of 4 quarterbacks. It did it because one of those guys hits. So I don't know. Interesting thing to point out. Calby Cool says the auto draft happened at the start of the Lakers game. That makes sense. You know, people, oh, we're zooming on the wrong thing for you guys. People draft during sporting events. So let's try to get this situated for you guys best. You can upload rankings to drafters too. Hope you guys have been enjoying these daily videos. You know, I'll mix in drafters drafts. I recognize that most people like underdog content. It's their favorite site. That's fine with me. I like underdog. I like drafters. I like DraftKings. Hit that subscribe button. Promo code on drafters is Chess Liam. Promo code on underdog fantasy is Chess Liam. So if you need to get up and running on the sites and you're just discovering it, you can use my promo codes. Other cool thing about drafters is you can know how many drafts the person has done. So you see the 9 next to my name, that means I've done 9 drafts. If you see the 4 next to ODO grad, he's done 4 drafts. Next to Finn's name, there is no number. So this is his first draft on drafters. And I will say, prevailing opinion last year, wisdom of the crowd, was that 0 RB would not work on drafters. They thought, hey, you got to have at least 1, maybe 2 running backs through the first couple rounds. It makes sense in some ways. However, we saw 0 RB teams crush for points reasons. And so I'm seeing a lot more people build that way this year. Ben asking if I did any of the 555 on DK. None of the fast drafts have filled, and they won't. It's like so hard to get those fast drafts to fill. So I regret to inform you, I am doing slow drafts. 1 has started. 1 total in the contest. I have been thinking about it more. I'm not sure if I'm gonna max. It just seems pretty irresponsible to fire at a contest that's as top heavy as the 555. You know, I'll definitely have 10, 20 entrants, something like that. Probably more, but who knows what I'll do. Gonna assess more after Vegas. I saw some people in Pete's Discord shocked I would consider maxing. It is important to note I also have a 300K score from best ball this year, so any losses are just less taxes I pay. It's not a perfect way to think about it, but that's, you know, general way you can think about it. All right, on the 2-3 turn here, I think we're going to grab our running. Let's go Josh Jacobs. Let's go Ramondre Stevenson. 2 running backs who could finish RB1 and 2 on the year. Wouldn't surprise me at all. So we got our running back start. We got JJ as a locked-in wideout. And yeah, just think Jacobs and Ramondre easily can outscore Higgins, Olave, Metcalf. Devonta Smith is a guy I'll take ahead of the running back sometimes just because I can see Smith having, like, so many, like, 30-point games, 40-point games. Ben Be Cool asked, yesterday you talked about people using AI to draft. What did you mean by that? Like using AI to create models? Well, I've talked about this a bunch, and as sites create overlays to draft, people like our guy Brick, he's got a overlay to draft. Uh, Spike Week has an overlay to draft. I have no problem with those. They help, they tell you stuff that obviously I don't need to help me, but some people like. But what I have an issue with is these overlays, just like we saw in poker, are the first steps to me machines that will draft for you and draft for you well. Like a big allure of best ball is that the guys that crush in daily fantasy sports, like Osimo and the guys like Utical, these are not guys spending the time to draft best ball teams in the summer. The people drafting best ball teams are everyday fantasy fans. They're not the like sharks running computer models. And in fact, a lot of those guys are bad at best ball because they historically have auto drafted a lot of their teams, and the sites do not allow you to auto draft that well. Like the sites don't have if then formulas. Like if I do this, I want to do this, right? Like DraftKings will force you to have 4 quarterbacks if you auto draft. That's not great. And it's kind of hard to plan for. So if instead you have a machine that can just draft for you, well, then you're looking at the death of best ball, because what you don't want is you don't want a bunch of like wealthy hedge fund managers and other wealthy people able to just like click a button and have some machine, auto draft 150 really well built teams. That's not great for the ecosystem at all. And it's not that it's just like not fun. And we just don't need it for best ball. Like if you want to do that, play DFS, you know? So that is my issue with the overlays. Again, it's not with the current system. It's just I see the writing on the wall, what's coming, if you would. There's probably already some machines out there. It's not a worry if one dude invents one for himself. That's not a worry. Like good for them. It's a worry if it's something that thousands of people could buy and implement, and now you're no longer drafting against people. You're drafting against AI robots who might be like scraping data against you individually and other things. So I think the sites like Underdog should be tracking, like they have the ability to know if plugins are being used and whatnot, and they should be policing this, because we saw, what we've seen on online poker, which is a direct parallel to best ball, is we're seeing the death of online poker for anyone, with it. Because, yeah, I mean, you can still win a tournament, but you're facing a lot of RTA, real time assistance bots in online poker, and it's just tough to beat and you know, not fun. So that's my rant on that. Anyways, and I think that's what's good for the best ball space and community. It does me literally no favors to point that out. Like, that will ruffle feathers with people, and it has, of course, people who produce those things. So, but that's what I believe. So that's what I will go to bat for. Okay, coming up on the 4-5 turn here. Unlike Underdog, where you've seen me, like, I've given the example a couple times how if you don't have Chase or Higgins, you should like almost never take Joe Burrow on a site like Underdog if you're playing for the playoff week purposes. Yes, you still want to stack for drafters, for drafters for season long points, but it's not as essential. We're gonna grab Christian Watson. We're gonna grab Mike Williams, a really great core of running backs and wide receivers to start. That give us a Josh Jacobs, Ramondre Stevenson start at running back to go with Justin Jefferson and Christian Watson. That's some division correlation there. And Mike Williams, who is some division correlation with Josh Jacobs. But yeah, so back to that point, taking Joe Burrow without Higgins and Chase is probably suboptimal, but it's not as crazy on a site like Drafters. AKA stacking still helps you, but it's not as like much of a requirement as I feel it is on a site like Underdog. Even though, you could still win with like an unstacked rushing quarterback on Underdog or even an unstacked passing quarterback. Like things can happen, but we're talking about like the overwhelming majority. So I feel real great about this start. Josh Jacobs, if you're concerned about his touch load from last year, is a better click on a site like Drafters where it's okay if Josh Jacobs gets hurt week 10. It's not okay if he gets hurt week 5, right? Like if he gets hurt week 5 and he's out for the season, your team sucks. It's dead. Sorry. And yeah, I think Drafters is a site to draft on if you want to be rewarded for like player takes. If you were the guy who's like, I knew Josh Jacobs was going to do what he did, and you felt like you had a losing season, well, then you would probably want to draft on a site more like Drafters where you're rewarded for those types of player takes. But, it's not as much a deep strategy as the playoff week purposes. It's why it's not my favorite thing. And, more often than not, you're not going to have a sweat deep into the season. But if you do have a sweat, it's electric. It's just harder to do that. Last year the winning team had Jalen Hurts and Zach Wilson, meaning it took a 0 at quarterback multiple weeks. So yeah, it was probably important that I had Hurts, and 55,000 size field or 44,000 size field is not as big as some of these other things, but it's just kind of crazy. It won with taking a 0 at quarterback for multiple weeks. Ben is saying Watson is a smash. You got to tell me which one, man. There's Christian Watson and there's Deshaun Watson. Two pretty prevalent Watsons. Again, going to be going on with Ian Hartitz to do a Best Ball Mania 4 draft on his channel or the Fantasy Life channel today at 4. I retweeted that, so you can check that out. I like Ian a lot. Solid dude. Tell me your weekend plan, guys. If you didn't get a chance to see the guest stream I did with Davis and Pat, I recommend you check that out. A lot of people really like when that trio of people talk things up. I thought we talked about topics like the formats of these different contests. We talked about the rookie landing spots. We talked about what was it? Oh, we talked about some of these threads I've been putting out and their opinions on it. And so yeah, it was about a 2-hour stream, but it was a great time. I'm going to be, I believe in the power of collabing, so gonna be trying to collab with more people in the fantasy football space this year, more people that I have not had on the channel before. Got 2 guests lined up next week so far. Those would be Jacob Sanderson and Ron Stewart. I think Ron's got his own YouTube. Jacob might too, but looking forward to those drafts with them. Probably rip a puppy with them. Calby Cool says, in a draft last night, saw someone do the 0 QB strat. Went Kyler and Trey Lance. Would not recommend. Yeah, I mean, on one end of the spectrum, maybe they got 0 points at their quarterbacks. On the other end of the spectrum, they may, if both those guys play early and play up to their ability, they got two elite quarterbacks on the cheap. I'd probably add a third quarterback to that combo. All right. I think Marquise Brown, pretty easy pick for my team. Very talented wide receiver, very cheap. And I think I'll grab Cam Akers. Gives me a little bit of leverage against the cup teams in the field. With me saying, not only do I have Justin Jefferson, who I'm saying is going to have a better season than Cup, but now I'm also trying to say, I'm betting against the Cup teams by saying I'm going to get the touchdowns with Cam Akers that Cup is not going to get. So builds in a bit of leverage on them. Michael asked if I would collab with Nick from BGGE. Yeah, I never talked to him, but I'm open to collabing with anyone. Z Miski says, just watched it before the stream. Good stuff for sure. Appreciate it, man. Gabe Davis goes. You know me, a Gabe Davis guy. David Kitchen tagged me with some fan fiction today about the Titans trading for Gabe Davis. I said, sounds like fan fiction. I don't really see it happening / wish casting by Titans fans. I don't see the Bills doing that at all unless they signed a waived DeAndre Hopkins. And even then it seems unlikely because you don't sell on players at their lowest, right? Gabe Davis had a kind of a disappointing year last year for him. Still had a fine year, but not as exciting as we thought. So if he was injured, you don't sell at his lowest. And I think the Justin Shorter pick by the Bills is more just insurance for if Gabe Davis balls out this year and they're not able to work a deal with him. David Felipe asks, it seems like uniqueness is more important in this format. Are you often scrolling way down at the end of drafts to help with that? Yeah, David, I think it's an interesting point you make. I think prevailing common sense would be uniqueness is better for playoff formats. That's how people usually think it through. But I agree with you. Being unique is just as important on a site like Drafters, where let's say, I went Justin Jefferson, Josh Jacobs, Ramondre Stevenson. Let's say out of the 100,000 teams, there's I don't know, 10,000 who start this way. Okay, so I have to have the best of those 10,000 to win the contest with my other picks. Now, let's say instead of Justin Jefferson, let's say I take, I don't know, Bijan Robinson. And Bijan's not the best example because Jacobs and I think Bijan's fine. Or AJ Brown. Let's say I take AJ Brown at the 101, and then I go Josh Jacobs, and then I go Ramondre Stevenson. Well, there are almost no teams who did that. So it's going to be easier to separate if those three guys have great seasons than from combos that are drafted a lot together at the top ends of drafts. Now, obviously, it's always better to build unique teams through ADP falling if you had the choice. If I had my choice, I would much rather build a Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase team if that was possible. And if you willingly take a lower AD player at a higher pick, you forego the opportunity. Let's say I did take AJ Brown 101, and for some reason Jamar Chase made it back to me. Well, now I'm not having the Justin Jefferson Jamar Chase combo because I got different at the top. So I think uniqueness is important for all forms of best ball, late ends of drafts, top ends of drafts. I do try to get unique player combos. It's kind of hard right now. Just we don't have that much info, especially with the later picks. But good comment, David. So we're seeing a lot of teams double up on quarterback. Herbert and Deshaun Watson from one team, Fields and Lawrence for one team. Me, only me and two other drafters don't have any quarterbacks yet. Once again, guys, if you're enjoying this channel, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Anthony Richardson does go to the Josh Allen drafter. Might have took him if I had the chance, but we do not. Make sure to join my Discord. That's in the link below as well. If you want to talk best ball with me, I'm very accessible there. I often get DMs on Twitter. I do not respond to rando DMs, but okay, Daniel Jones goes 2. So I think Michael Thomas is definitely coming to this team. Just a massive ceiling if he stays healthy and is good, giving us a great group of 5. And then I don't really love taking Cousins here because it feels like he's not going to outscore the Goffs, the Geno Smiths, the Rodgers too often at the other end. But like just to secure my stack with Jefferson and to ensure I'm not totally locked out at quarterback, we're going to grab him now. Looking through his game logs last year, he hit 25 points or around it once, twice. Now, this is including playoffs. Once. So if we don't include playoffs, once, twice, 3. Only like 3 times did he approach 25. We should expect that the Vikings offense is better, though, with the addition of Jordan Addison. So, yeah, probably would have rather had a Anthony Richardson, but obviously Richardson's floor is much worse than a Cousins, but his ceiling is also much higher. Michael asks, how different does your draft strategy change on different platforms with different PPR scoring? Not too much, Michael. There's definitely some guys I'm more prone to draft on half point PPR, and some guys I'm more prone to draft on PPR. I think it's a nice way to kind of like get uniqueness throughout your playoff. A nice way to get uniqueness throughout your portfolio is what I meant. But I'm not doing something where it's like I have to do running back starts on underdog, and I have to do 0 running back starts on PPR. Cal asks, what about reaching on a pick if that player fits with your team? Yeah, Cal, I think it's always okay to reach on a pick. Ultimately, we're playing a game. Get your guys if you feel good about him. However, if you're reaching too high on a player, you have to keep in mind, and like some players are players who are like are players you should not reach on versus other players. Like, I don't know. A player I wouldn't reach on is like Matt Stafford if I wanted Matt Stafford. Why? It's because half the time Matt Stafford's going to go well past ADP. So when half the time the guy goes like 20 picks past ADP, that's not a guy you reach on because very often people are building better versions of that team. You also need, when you reach on a player, you need the players in the round you're reaching to fail. And you need the players you're drafting later to do better than the players that you forgoed in the reaching round. So it's kind of complicated. It's totally viable. Like if someone wants to say all round 9 players fail, this is a round to get your guy. That's totally possible. David, I don't know the nitty gritty of my portfolio last year. He's asking me if I did 9 or more running back builds. Very unlikely. I don't think 9 running backs is usually that viable. Like, what would that even be? So you're talking about like a 2 QB, 9 RB, 6 wide receiver, 3 tight end build, or 7 wide receiver, 2 tight end. So, you know, maybe I did 1, but I do some 7 RB teams, occasionally an 8. Not really sure about 9. But yeah, in general, you should be drafting like you are right. So, if you started your draft with 6 wide receivers, probably stopping at 7 max. Yeah, I think it's an intriguing build, David. I've probably done 1 or 2 teams like that. He's saying start 7 wide receivers. Your last 9 picks should be running back. I would point out that at this time of the season, a lot of these running backs are drafting late. We're not sure. Like, you know, Ezekiel Elliott could not play next year. Jerome Ford could get someone else could sign and he's like a nothing. Uh, you know, Joshua Kelly could be nothing, or maybe Austin Eckler tears an ACL in training camp and all of a sudden is like a 5th round pick. So, there's benefits to doing both. 1912 is asking about what is the format for the site and scoring. Mentioned that earlier, but I'll tell you again. It is PPR, and the format is total points weeks 1 through 17. There are no playoff weeks. It's a total points website. So if that's more your groove, Drafters is a site for you. Promo code to sign up is in the YouTube description below. You can receive a $100 deposit match up to $100, or 100% deposit match up to $100. That is a bummer to see Lazard go. Probably would have gone Rodgers, Lazard. I think I'll grab Antonio Gibson. Still like the ceiling on him. And I guess we'll grab Dalton Schultz. Dalton Kincaid did go. We do need a tight end. Schultz allows me to backstab potentially with Stroud. Still could receive a lot of target volume there for a team that has shaky depth chart at wide receiver. Your Nico Collins, Robert Woods, John Mechie. This isn't exactly the stiffest competition. And yeah, if you are planning on doing drafters, I think now is a great time to draft them before the NFL schedule release comes out. Yeah, you still can do things like division stacking on a site like Drafters, but in general, the Week 17 matchups don't matter at all. Yeah, just like Geno Smith regularly goes in the 120s, and Kirk Cousins goes 2 rounds more expensive. That just feels wrong to be taking the Cousins side. They're similar players. They're both gonna throw for around 43 to 4,500 yards in a healthy season and be around 30 touchdowns. So it doesn't really make sense why one is so expensive. That's why I didn't really love the Cousins pick in round 9, but gotta do what you gotta do. So for the audio listeners, we have a 1-4-5-1 going on so far. Kirk Cousins at quarterback, Josh Jacobs, Ramondre Steven, Cam Akers, Antonio Gibson at running back, Justin Jefferson, Christian Watson, Mike Williams, Hollywood Brown, and Michael Thomas at wide receiver, and Dalton Schultz at tight end. Hope everyone's having a great day. Let me know what you think of drafters in the YouTube comments if you're watching this on replay. I think there's two philosophies for early drafts. Philosophy one, which I did mostly last year, is that you can lean into risk and you should take a lot of risky players, accepting that a lot of your teams are going to be dead. But if you're right, you're building super teams. So last year, that meant I was drafting a lot of Will Fuller. I drafted some Odell Beckham Jr., guys like these who I knew were risky. I drafted a lot of Trey Lance. But what ended up happening is these guys didn't play and my teams ended up sucking. So I think for a site like Underdog, the other philosophy, just to paint the opposite, is you should be taking guys that are not as risky, guys that are going to play and see the field more, because it's very harmful to your team to have a dead player for the playoff weeks. And so why would you draft Trey Lance when you don't know if he's going to play, and that would kill your team? So I don't know. I think I was burned a little last year, so maybe I'm overcorrecting. I've been leaning into less risk like that, like the Lances of the world. But at the same time, I still am a believer in Lance's ceiling if he plays. If is the question there. So it's like on a site like Drafters, where a dead player doesn't hurt you as much, it's just like kind of binary. Do you have the super team? Yes or no? I could totally see Lance being part of a super team if he's going to play. Then again, Lance could get cheaper. So Derek Carr goes, he would have been a target for me with having Kirk Cousins. Calby Cool Ass, nerd question. Could you list articles/books on expected value in the Discord or just about math? Yeah, that sounds like more like something you can Google. I don't think there's. Let me make my picks real quick here. All right, we'll grab Matt Stafford and Tyler Higbee to stack with him. So we're building up the Ram stack with Cam Akers and Higbee. Higbee, not a guy I draft a lot at all. But I guess they didn't add any target competition. We did see an individual weak ceiling from him. He had a 30-point game last year. He had a 17-point game. He had a 15-point game. So I don't know. Not an exciting guy for me. But, we need, with us getting a little buried at quarterback, Kyler Murray went, Derek Carr went, guys that would have made sense with our team, with us having Hollywood Brown and Michael Thomas. We went with the Stafford Higbee route. Stacking your quarterback with a tight end is always preferable. But yeah, back to your question, Cal. I could totally list stuff I find expected value, but if you want to search that out, I would just recommend you Google that. I don't think I'm going to do the Googling for you. And, I'm more of a vibes-based guy. So I do post some math posts on Best Ball, but I don't really know what the math for Best Ball you're searching. I think a lot of math people put out there is wrong and bad. So, like stuff that ignores what the draft landscape is from year over year and just states things like drafting running backs really worked or drafting wide receivers really worked. Like that type of stuff people think is helping them, but it can very easily be hurting them because the draft landscape is different year over year, which people ignore. Yeah, Cal, I just don't think you're going to. He says, I heard best ball compared to poker. I was wondering if the math less serious similar. Best ball is a very new game. To For Best Ball Mania 1, so we're on Best Ball Mania 4, is the first year I played best ball. I didn't play on Underdog that year. I played um, only on DraftKings because I didn't know about Underdog. But back then, there was next to zero content. No one was streaming. There were no streams at all, period. There were no YouTube channels on it, period. There was I found some articles on 4for4 about it. And that's it. And it wasn't even for the right stuff. It was like reviewing cash games and stuff. So this is a new industry. We're coming on the golden age of content. You got content from a lot of people, and the space is getting bigger year over year, but the sample size is not big for these things. So unlike poker, best ball is a once a year contest, you know? So I post things in my Discord, mainly if you go into the Twitter best ball thread, I posted a post by Michael Leone. He works for ETR. He does post some math stuff. I don't agree with all the takeaways, but I linked his Twitter there. That he would be more of a resource for math questions like that. But again, I'd caution you on taking um anything as hard fact as far as this is what I need to be doing, because things change. So I would try to think more predictively and more intuitively for best ball than I would reactively. So reading what worked and then copying that. That is reactive. That's something I would recommend doing less. Coming up on my round 14 and 15 pick. Probably going two or three QB and three tight end with these combinations of players that I have. Kirk Cousins and Stafford is a good, not great quarterback room. Schultz and Higbee is an okay, not awesome tight end room. Bryce Young falling way after ADP, excuse me. But stacking options are a little limited with him, so I'm going to take CJ Stroud to stack with the Dalton Schultz pick. And then I'll be taking Isaiah Hodgins, a potential wide receiver one going in the 15th round for his team. Also, potentially could be a cut candidate. Cal says, yeah, sample size is not really big and changing like quarterbacks going early this year, unlike last year. Yeah. I'm going to have an article out on this. I freelance some work for the 33rd team, so you can check that out. I'll have an article out on the changing landscape because this is a topic I think a lot of fantasy football analysts ignore. And they just something like even as simple as the running back dead zone. Guess what? That's changed significantly. Cal's on board with the CJ Stroud pick. Yeah, I mean, I would usually go Bryce Young over him, but I don't view Bryce Young as that much better of a pick than CJ Stroud that I'm going to forego the guy I can add to a stack. So Gonna stop at 3 quarterbacks with this room of Cousins, Stafford, and Stroud. And, Stroud has a little bit of I said this on stream with Davis and Pat yesterday, but, Stroud gets a little bit of knock because he, didn't run in college, and it's like, why would you be running in college if your wide receivers were Jackson Smith, Njoku, JSN, Garrett Wilson, and Chris Olave? Like you wouldn't. We would be like, why the hell is this dude running the football? Throw the ball. And he is a little bit more faster than people think. Trying to look up his 40. I heard a number cited, but of 4.79, but I don't know if that's factual. On that. And I think the Texans are an offense we should expect to be much better. And there's some potential upside, some of their guys. Like Nico Collins, athletic freak. So this is a guy who could take the next step with good quarterback play. John Mechie, potentially good. The dude recovered from cancer. And I don't know, second draft cal, but potentially is like good. Like Robert Woods, yeah, that's not a guy I'm high on. But whatever, he's a veteran. Dalton Schultz, like productive fantasy asset. So if you squint, there are pieces to like on the Texans. And just to go from what's his face? Who's the long necked quarterback? Help me out, guys. Davis Mills. Just to go from him to another, Tank Dell, the slot wide receiver they took. A lot of people were excited about him. I did not see the story about him asking the Texans to take Tank Dell. It's notable, though. Bildo says, I looked up every Stroud rush of 2022. I don't think he has amazing rushing upside. Yeah, you don't need don't get me wrong. CJ Stroud is not going to be Justin Fields or Anthony Richardson. Full stop. Not happening. Could he be Trevor Lawrence, though? Could he be Joe Burrow, though? Guys who can put up around 500 yards, score 5 rushing touchdowns in a crazy year. Maybe they sneak in 7. Yes. No? I don't know how to easily pull up let's see. Joe Burrow. It's like a summary. Rushing. 329 rushing yards and 6 rushing touchdowns. That's over 20 games. We'll come back to that since we're on the clock next here. Okay. I think we're going to take Jaden Reed. Second round draft capital. Correlates with the Cousins pick. Same division. And then, yeah, I think we'll go Tyler Conklin. Decent upside on Conklin. Had some spike weeks. Veteran. So our team is a 3-4-7-3. Cousins, Stafford, Stroud at running back. Josh Jacobs, Ramondre, Cam Akers, Antonio Gibson. At wideout, Justin Jefferson, Kristen Watson, Mike Williams, Hollywood Brown, Michael Thomas, Isaiah Hodgins, Jalen Reed. And then at tight end, Dalton Schultz, Tyler Higbee, and Conklin. Two Tylers. We got the Tyler squared at tight end. A lot of Tank Dell fans in the YouTube chat. I mean, the issue with Tank Dell is he's like 5'8", 163. Could definitely play in the NFL. So gonna need some more running backs for this team. And then debatable what we do for the last pick. Oh. Don't know what I'm going to do for workout today. My calves are definitely feeling it after sprinting yesterday. Just the ankle mobility too from sprinting is hard. So I'm excited for the weekend though. We'll definitely be back next week with some more underdog fantasy drafts. Enjoy your bench fantasy football garage. Bench pressing, not my favorite workout in the world. You know, I do it here and there, but it's not that functional of an exercise. You know, I know a lot of men do it, but it's like whenever do you need to lift something off of you like that? It's like really only if like a car were to fall on you. Tyler asked, how many puppy drafts will you do? Probably only on stream for me, unless they come out with some higher first prize puppies. I think this puppy's going to be 75K to first, so I'll just stream a bunch of guest streams with the puppies. You know, then I don't care what happens with the team. The guests can take whoever the hell they want. And I don't have to burn one of my BBM4 entries. Tyler's saying he's going to have to bench press that 3 milli off his chest this January. Over my dead body, Tyler. I'm just kidding. All right, let's take Zach Evans. And why not? I don't think we need another wide receiver, but we'll take Tank Dell to go with CJ Stroud. Zach Evans, maybe made that pick a little bit quickly because I already have Cam Akers, but whatever. We have now built in the handcuff by accident on our team. You know, if he's the pass catching guy from Stafford, it could work, the combo of them. It could also work if like Cam Akers is the guy weeks 1 through 10, and then Zach Evans is the guy weeks 10 through 17. So I don't know. My first share of Zach Evans, he got late draft capital. He's, you know, walking into a team where he could easily be the RB2. Wouldn't surprise me if it's Kyron Williams either. And yeah, probably draft one more running back at the end here. You could pull anyone out of the hat with these last running backs. You know, a lot of dudes are not getting drafted who could see the field. You know, I don't feel great about them, but like Naheem Hines could see the field. Amir Abdullah could see the field. If you draft one of these guys and no one else does, and then the guy smashes, you're really separating yourself. And, you know, with me having a strong 4 of Josh Jacobs, Ramondre Stevenson, Cam Akers, and Antonio Gibson to start, I don't need anyone to contribute to my roster early. It could be a guy who contributes late. Cal be cool saying, "Have a great weekend, boys. You too." Bildo asking me to make me the Tank Dell hype man. I don't think that's not a guy I'm attaching my brand to, Bildo. I'll let you ride that wave. I have been sniped on him on some Stroud teams though. And I don't know how it's going to play out with the Texans. I do like to look at how the team page lists them. Yes, this is like interns a lot and they could be wrong, but currently they have Wood, Nico Collins, and John Mechie as the top 3 wideouts. Is Noah Brown from the Cowboys? It is. Noah Brown is on that team too and had a great year last year. What do you sign for? Noah Brown contract. That's certainly not right. Old. Noah Brown 2023. Looks like a 1 year, $2.8 million contract. Great. But I'm decent depth, right? And L is also listed as a backup. Someone said Texans playoff team this season. I don't see that happening with how good the AFC is. The AFC is, unless they win the division. Yeah, I mean, it could be any of the Texans guys. Could be Dell. It's not going to be shocking to me if it's Noah Brown. He's not the worst pick in the world. It's not going to be shocking if it's, Robert Woods is back, if John Mechie balls out, if Nico Collins is awesome. A lot of teams with a lot of uncertainty right now. Who is the RB2 in Indianapolis? We don't know. Who is the RB2 in Dallas? Who is the RB2 in Arizona? Who is the RB2 on the Jets? This time, we're going to grab Keontae Ingram. Plays in the division with the Rams. Potentially is the RB2 on the Cardinals after James Conner. Don't know, but it's possible. So that finishes our team as a 3-6-8-3. Kirk Cousins, Matt Stafford, CJ Stroud rocking it at quarterback. Josh Jacobs, Ramondre Stevenson, Cam Akers, Antonio Gibson, Zach Evans, Keontae Ingram rocking it at running back. Justin Jefferson, Christian Watson, Mike Williams, Hollywood Brown, Michael Thomas, Isaiah Hodgins, Jaden Reed, and Tank Dell at wideout. And then Dalton Schultz, Tyler Higbee, and Tyler Conklin at tight end. That will be the conclusion of my drafter stream for today. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, hit the like button. Really helps me out, really helps motivate me to do this daily free content for you guys and girls out there. I will be back next week on my channel with more daily weekday streams for the month of May. You can catch me over on the Fantasy Life channel at 4 p.m. with Ian Hartitz. Going to be doing a Basketball Mania 4 over there. Have a great weekend, guys. Tell your families you love them. Get out in nature, very key. Move your body as well and eat healthy. Peace out.